God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. I think at this time we have City of Antioch doing a safety presentation.
That's what the City of Antioch. If there's anything that happens, there's 2 exits for everybody on both sides of the building. So we'll just split it in half. Everybody on this side will go out that door. Everybody on this side will go out that door, and then everybody behind the counter, if you go through this back door, there's the exit. That back wall exit. Yeah. So if there's any questions. Thank you for everybody being here. Thank you.
No, thank you. Now, I did roll call first, so we'll go skip the next part, correct?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now to item 4, public comments. Persons wishing to address the authority on any item of interest to the public regarding the SJJPA and the San Joaquin Rail Service shall state their names and address and make their presentation. The authority cannot take action on matters not on the agenda unless action is authorized by section 54954.2 of the Government Code. Material related to an item on the agenda submitted to the Board of Directors after distributed of the agenda packet are available for public inspection in the Commission's office at 949 East Channel Street during normal business hours. These documents are also available on the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority website, subject to staff's ability to post the documents prior to the meeting. Public comments should be limited to 3 minutes per comment. Do we have any written comments?
Written comments, general, no, we do have one online so far.
One online comment. Do we have any comments from the public today? Do we have any comments online?
Yes, we have Kurt Thomas. I will allow to speak now.
Kurt, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I wanted to comment regarding the previous meeting. I thought there was really good data in there about how most people seem to be using the San Joaquins to travel to visit family. One thing that I did want to elevate is that I think you don't see a lot of commuters on the line because there's really not a lot of utility for commuting because of the schedules. There's not really a lot of early trains or like early arrivals that are southbound, for example. And I think in general, sort of the low frequencies kind of cap the utility for commuting. I was wondering if there's any. I wanted to plant the seed to discuss maybe what can be done to increase the frequencies, or maybe spread out the travel schedule across a larger period of the day to improve the utility for commuters. I know you guys can't address anything about that today, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you very much, Kurt. Anybody else online?
Yes, we have a secondary hand raised for Farah Mars. I will allow to talk now.
Good morning. I missed the name.
Farah Mars.
Farah?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank
Yep,
you.
I hear you fine.
I'm a Gold Runner passenger. I wanted to bring to the attention of the board the discrepancy between the number of trips on the Amtrak Thruway buses from Burbank to Bakersfield versus from Bakersfield to Burbank, and suggest a solution. Right now, there are 4 northbound trips that pick up from Burbank Airport to Bakersfield, but there are only 3 southbound trips from Bakersfield that stop in Burbank. There is an opportunity to have either of 2 buses that do not currently stop there to do so. Bus number 5702 departs Bakersfield at 12:05 p.m. and arrives at Glendale at 2:15 p.m. and Los Angeles Union Station at 2:40 p.m. At the same time, there is a 5802 bus that goes directly from Bakersfield to Los Angeles Union Station. So there would be no delay for passengers who are transferring to other trains using 5802 if 5702 stops along the way at Burbank Airport. Similarly, at night, bus 5716 departing Bakersfield at 8:05 p.m. and arriving at Glendale at 10:15 and LA Union Station at 10:35 p.m. That bus does not connect to any other Amtrak services. So there would be no delay to any passengers if there was a stop at Burbank Airport along the way. So I would like to recommend to the board and to staff to look at adding Burbank Airport as a stop, particularly as schedule revisions are being considered with the reintroduction of a seventh round trip, the one to Sacramento that the board has discussed at prior meetings. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Seeing no other public comments online.
Okay, if there are no more public comments online, do we have any in the audience again? No one in the audience. We'll move on now to the consent calendar. What's the board's pleasure?
Do I need to turn the microphone on? Or is it-
It's
on?
live.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion by Burgess. Do I have a second?
Yes, a second.
Second by Vieto. Vito?
Fugazi had her hand up.
Oh, sorry.
We can't see your
Sorry, Mayor.
screen, just so you know.
Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Thank you. Directors Chiesa.
Aye.
Thank you. Fugazi.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Shuklian.
Aye.
Vice Chair Burgess.
Aye.
Alternate Singh Allen.
Aye.
Chair Verboen.
Yes.
And I do see Supervisor Pedroso on. I am trying to promote you. Thank you. And then if you would like to take action for item 5 when you rejoin. All right, not hearing anything so far. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on now to item number 6, ad hoc Antioch Station Working Group update and City of Antioch presentation per Antioch Station. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors. My name is Tamika Smith, and I am going to be joined later by City Manager Bessie Marie Scott. Okay, so I'd like to provide an update on the ad hoc working group. To date, the working group has held 4 meetings, one in person, as you can see on the right, with the supervisor as well as members of the public. The City of Antioch mayor and one of the council members joined us. The work group tackled key issues such as beautification of the station, media and communications. We recently collaborated with the City of Antioch to release a media statement, as well as the supervisor's office collaborated with us on the statement, as well as security coordination. We do have one last meeting scheduled for January 21 of 2026. And I'd like to take the time to thank the public as well as the supervisor and the City of Antioch for their support during the ad hoc working group. It was a really positive collaboration. We tackled tough issues, and I think it's a true statement of when the community comes together. And I will be happy to take any questions before the city manager joins us.
Very good. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of this was a result of a lot of concerns related to safety and all of that. And so the question I have is, have there been any other concerns or incidents related to Amtrak and the Antioch station?
So to date, between September and November, we did receive 6 feedback questions or six statements from the Amtrak Smart Union, and that's the union that represents the conductors on board. Of the six statements, five of them were surrounding ferry evaders that boarded the train in Antioch headed towards Stockton. The sixth one was around an incident, a crime that was that happened at the station, and Antioch police responded as well as Amtrak police responded.
And I know that there were well, maybe I should let the city manager speak and maybe I'll have some more questions after that.
Thank you. City manager?
Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having us, Chair, Vice Chair, and Board of Directors, as well as staff. I'm very proud that you're in our council chambers this morning and that we're also on the agenda. Very serendipitous. I don't know if that was a coincidence, but we appreciate it. I'm here with our Deputy Director, Public Works, Carlos Cepeda, who makes all the magic happen behind the scenes, and we love him very much. So the project overview, let's see if we can get this slide. I'm never on this side of the podium, so it's very odd. And I also want to acknowledge our council, some of our council members who are here, Councilmember Freitas, and our staff, our new Community and Economic Development Director over there, as well as our Safety and Risk Manager. They keep us safe and we love them. All right. My chief usually does this for me. I'm just very spoiled. Okay, so the project overview and cost. So the purpose of improvements was to enhance safety, as the supervisor got to, lighting and visibility for passengers. We also had sort of down there some blight issues. So we have two of our historical buildings across the street from the Amtrak station, including the Hart House and the Lind House. And so we wanted to kind of take down vandalism as well as really helping our unhoused residents be in a safer co-located space. So we used a new team. Antioch got a core team to address unhoused residents down there in particular. The Amtrak station is actually in a pretty vital corridor. When you're driving up to it, you can also go into one of our nicest restaurants, Monica's on the Water. So there were a lot of sort of co-benefits to having a beautification project, and one of them was the safety, lighting, and visibility. Also improving access and connectivity for residents, visitors, and workers. As you know, Antioch is doing a downtown sort of revitalization project, so you see new restaurants coming downtown, and so our economic development director has observed that when people get off Amtrak, they're also using, eating in our restaurants, and we want them to be safe from the train. We also want our conductors to be safe. So beautifying the station and surrounding areas had a pretty large outsized benefit and supporting the city's long-term downtown revitalization goals. So we dedicated, the council approved $370,000 for this project. To date, we've spent $248,000, a little bit over that on the project. And we thank our project manager here for that. All right. So the project status overview. Is this yours? This one? Okay, this.
Good morning. So yeah, to date, we've completed the new concrete pathways and public access areas. We have 3 access points now to the train pad. We completed the landscape improvements. We had a new design made and we improved the water efficiency with adding a lot of bubblers instead of overhead sprays. So that was good. And then we also are going to complete the lighting improvements. Those are going to get started the first week of December as materials. We were waiting for materials to come in, so the contractor is going to get started the first week of December. They're going to add 3 new poles with lights to the entrance area, which is on the city side. And then on the platform itself, they're going to add 10 more fixtures to improve the lighting on the platform. We also, in anticipation of 2 shelters that are going to be delivered in January, we poured the pads for those, and that'll be ready to go. We should receive those sometime in January, and we'll have them set up. Those will also have solar lighting inside, so they won't be dark at night. So the improvement there will greatly be a benefit to riders. And then the other key element was we installed a 4-foot fence, and we designated that zone a paid fare zone only, so that anyone going beyond the point of the entrance or where the signs are at should be just people needing to use the train. And then that's enforced with our Antioch Police Department.
No, I question on that, you have to have your ticket to go past that point?
So, yeah, you need a ticket. So if you're just lingering around, they could ask you for a ticket to show a ticket while you're back here, while you're on the past that point, and they could enforce it. There's signs with a code that's
Very good.
enforceable. And so really the only two items left to complete are the installation of the additional lights and the two train shelters, and that would complete the improvements, which would bring the project cost up to $370,000.
And just to follow up on something that the deputy director said, getting to your point in terms of Director Smith's comments on the information we got was the paid fare. So making sure that the signage is there, that APD can enforce the signage, and that the train conductors don't have to deal with that situation because it's very clear who should be where and that it should be fared. And the other thing was we were not ADA compliant on the platform. There was a gap, I believe, in some of the concrete and the transitioning. And so we addressed that. I think there was initially who was responsible for what, who owns what, and we had to get all that worked out during this project. So we learned a lot about our city and what we own and don't own. So it's been a really great collaboration. And so here we're talking about what is the general sort of policy context for us making the improvements. We do want to acknowledge that we have an environmental justice element. So the Antioch Amtrak station was identified as a regional connection point. And that helps us encourage collaboration among local, regional, and state transit agencies, which is why we're here. And then the improvements directly support equitable transit access. Let's see. And then it's also part of our downtown specific plan as a vital anchor for multimodal transportation systems, expanding walking, biking, and transit use, and reducing car dependency for local circulation. And so we're really excited that we got to do this project because the investments support our downtown revitalization and enhances mobility choices for the duration of the station being open, and it reinforces our long-term commitment to the waterfront corridor. So we were grateful to be able to do the beautifications. And then do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so this just references the additional lighting that we're installing, the 3 new light poles. And also, like I said, 10 new platform light fixtures to improve visibility during the early morning and evening train hours on the platform itself. We're also, like I said, we're putting 2 shelters that'll help riders kind of weather the storm when they come in. And then we removed a lot of the old vegetation, removed trees that weren't doing so well, and we planted new trees. We left some of the healthy ones in there, and we went with a new design for landscape planting palette. So that was done there.
And then the chief isn't here, but we just want to make sure that you all know that on top of the investments that we put in the actual physical improvements, I'm also added another $150,000 in the city manager's budget to pay for a private security firm, Spearhead Security. So they stop at parking lots downtown, but we're also using them to supplement when our police department can't always go 15 minutes before or 20 minutes after a stop. So we have sort of this bookend with the train schedule. So we want to make sure that we have visibility before and after train arrival and departure times. And so it's been really great to see their security logs because we've asked for pictures and proof that they're going, and they take those. So they supplement patrols by our APD to ensure the high visibility coverage. And then we just want to thank your security team and our chief for joining forces together for a quicker response and incident prevention. So that has been really, really helpful. And I think it's made a lot of difference at the station. All right. And then another economic benefits in terms of walkability, enhancing regional rail connectivity, and expanding job access to and from Antioch. All right. And here are some before and after pictures that Carlos will go over.
So as you can see from the pictures, there were some trees that weren't doing so well. There was also some sod that was there. We removed all that sod. It's not very water efficient, so we went with plants and bubblers. So this is the before construction. And this is during construction. You can see the new irrigation systems that were being put in, the bubblers, and then the new pathways. We put in that circular. It serves as a bench also, but there's now a tree there and plants, and people can actually sit down along that circular bench there. And there's 3 access points to the platform, one directly from the south side where the bus stop drops off passengers, and then there's also one on the southeast corner and one on the east side. And then here's after construction, the new landscape plants that were installed, and you can see the 4-foot fence with the paid fair zone only signs at the entrance points, and they're also along the perimeter of the fence, so it's clearly marked. People know they're entering the paid fair zone, and it's enforceable.
All right, that is our presentation. Any questions for us?
Thank you very much. Any questions? Supervisor Burgess, I know you worked on this.
Well, I just want to say that I think everybody leaned in, even members of the public, and I appreciate that. And I think the communication's been really great. I think it's indicative of the new leadership this year, both on the city manager and the city council that, has leaned in on this. So I think they've done a really good job, and I appreciate all the hard work and the communication. I did have questions about the APD presence, because I know early on there was kind of an agreement, and then it wasn't there, and then now the security. So I'm curious, has that made a difference?
We believe it has made a difference. We don't see, I think the last few incidences were months ago, so we haven't heard, but we do have quick communication. So we have direct communication from the teams. Let us know right away so that we can get on it. I think there was an incident where there was a criminal activity, but we didn't find out until about 4 or 5 hours later. And so sometimes that makes all the difference when we're tracking people down. So that has been eliminated. So we have sort of straight pathways for connection, and we appreciate that.
I think sometimes people have to kind of learn that there's some new rules in an area, so that paid fair zone probably was something that took some time for folks to kind of understand.
Yeah, we do see that there's less loitering around the platform now that the fence and the signs are up.
Tamika, are they still only opening one door for entry for
Yes, at the station,
Okay.
correct.
So that's still indicative from Amtrak's point of view that there's still some concerns, correct?
Correct. So the last event to take place at the station was on November 10th, where there was a fare evader, and the train took a 40-minute delay because of that. So as from the union standpoint and the conductor standpoint, they still see it as a challenge.
And then City Manager Scott talked about equitable access, and so I share the concerns about that, and we'll work to make sure that we're leaning in on that as well.
Thank you so much.
I think that covers all my questions.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Anybody have questions online?
We have Director Chiesa.
Vito, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, first of all, thank Annie for because things are obviously getting better. And I especially want to thank our Vice Chair, Supervisor Burgess, who has kept this top of mind for the Joint Powers Authority. And as you use the word leaning in, she's been more than leaning in. So thank you very much. I think we're on the right path, and we always know we can do better at every one of our stops in every location. But it's the trajectory we're on. So I'm very proud of what's happening here.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else? I see Mayor Fugazi. Did you have your hand raised?
Actually, it was when Vito said path. We're on the right path. And I.
All the air quotes.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Anybody else have questions? If not, I want to thank you. I've been through here before on the train, and I've seen the stops, and it's a shame that when you ride the train, you see everybody's backyard. And so I noticed it today that it was extremely nice from a year ago. So I appreciate the effort you guys have done, and we'll do all we can to keep it viable. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Thanks for bringing your community together.
Thank you.
I know it's a lot of work.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Would you like to ask for any public comments?
Do we have any public comments in the audience? Do we have any public comments online?
Seeing none online,
And nothing written, correct?
not for
Okay.
this item.
Okay, we'll move.
It looks like we do.
Oh, you've got one in the back.
Perfect, thank you.
Aren't you? You're the mayor, aren't you? Huh?
He was a member of our
Working.
committee.
Okay.
I'm Eddie Gums, part of the committee that was put together with this. I'm vice chair for ACE, and I also represent the public of Antioch and Pittsburgh. Okay, this was a great thing that came together. I like the way that we all had to, put ourselves out there and be vulnerable and accept some things that we could not change. Okay, but overall, I do hope we get to keep this train station here. It's very much needed. And if it takes an act of Congress to do it, let's do that. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know what I saw myself in the past 12 months is extremely beneficial. I know that in my county, I've been trying to get a flagpole put up for 3 years and I can't get it done. And you guys have done a great job. So I commend you on that. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7. And that's going to be Cameron, Autumn.
Yeah. Good
Morning.
morning, commissioners, members of the board, members of the public, City of Antioch. I'm here to present item number 7. All right, so give you guys a quick introduction of the project. So the Trespasser Deterrent Metal Security Fencing Project plays a critical role on protecting BNSF's railway, the right-of-way, and reducing unauthorized access. This initiative directly supports the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority by strengthening service continuity, improving public safety, and minimizing delays and disruptions associated with the incidents. Okay, so BNSF was responsible for engineering, construction management, inspection, and installation of activities designated at locations along the Gold Runner route. So phase 1 was between West Avenue and North Fruit Avenue. Phase 2 was between North Fruit Avenue and North Van Ness Boulevard. And then phase 3 was between North Shields and East Clinton Avenue. So the installation included cut-resistant security fencing, bollards at the open access areas, and security gates at the controlled access points. And all 3 phases were located between the Fresno area and Connect Northwest Avenue and Clinton Avenue. You can see here some of the work that has been done. So this amendment is to close out the phase 3 of the project. During this phase, we successfully completed the scheduled deliverables, addressed any outstanding items, and ensured alignment with the project's overall objectives. So our next phase, our next steps focus on prioritizing resources and sustaining project momentum. I'll be meeting with Amtrak PD to conduct a review of the Gold Runner corridor and verify any potential delay points, any issues that we have that require any mitigation, and gather critical insights to form phase 4 of the planning. Following this review, I'll meet with BNSF to finalize the mitigation plan and coordinate any additional amendments needed to support the continued progress. And now I'll hand it off to Autumn.
Thank you, Cameron. Good morning. The amendment was handled in accordance with the Rail Commission's procurement manual, which the authority adopted. Procurement staff has reviewed and confirmed that the price was fair, reasonable, and necessary for the project. The amendment will increase the contract amount by a little over $527,000 for a new not to exceed of a little over $2.4 million. And the commencement date will be based on execution by both parties and expire with the contract June 30th, 2026. We would extend it in writing if approved by the board and add more money for the projects for next fiscal year. So funding for this project is approved through the annual business plans from CalSTA. The budget that was added in the staff report was actually the old budget, so we did remove it from the slides and wanted to confirm that. But it was the previous budget before we received the 25-26 annual business plan. And then funding for it comes from that business plan every year. We get the money, we add it, and then we get to do more of the fencing. So with that, staff asks approval of this amendment, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
to approve.
Veto.
Second by Vito. Do we have any questions in the audience?
I see one online.
We have one online. Go ahead.
All right, Kurt Thomas, I am allowing to speak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I was just hoping that the board could quickly inform me how many incidents occurred that impacted passenger service for the San Joaquins, where you had people incurring onto the BNSF line.
So do we answer that now or we just get back to them later?
I would recommend that we allow staff time to put together the data associated
Okay.
with the incidents in the corridor, and then bring a staff report back to you at your next meeting.
Thank you, David. I know that there's a lot. I know Kings County is pretty bad and Fresno County is bad as well. So that's what warranted this project. So we'll get back to you with the exact data and then we'll share it with the board at the next meeting, correct? Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any question from the audience?
Seeing none.
Nothing? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Directors Chiesa,
Aye.
Fugazi,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Shucklian,
Aye.
Pedroso,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burgess,
Aye.
Alternate Singh Allen,
Aye.
Chair Verboen.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you very much. We'll move on now to item number 8. Number 9.
8.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Vice Chair and Board of Directors. My name is Momo Tamaoki. I am actually filling in for Michael Hanebut, who is feeling under the weather today. We actually want to thank Michael for being really considerate because nobody wants to be sick right before the holidays. So, San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority staff submitted a grant application last year in January for Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant. This was for the work on the San Joaquin Valley Network Integration and Transit-Oriented Development Action Plan. July of last year, Caltrans announced that they have awarded $51.4 million in this grant to 89 agencies. And we were one of the lucky agencies who actually received the full amount we requested, which was $600,000 to develop that plan. We will be working with a consultant, as well as we will be leveraging the existing rail transit TOD working group to help drive the critical components of the plan. And then they will help us guide the planning goals for this plan. So these are the member agencies of the working group, as well as the partners who will be helping us with the plan development. San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, SJCOG, STANCOG, Merced CAG, Madera CTC, Fresno COG, Kings County Association of Governments, Tulare County Association of Governments, Kern Council of Governments, High Speed Rail Authority, and Caltrans. There are 3 key main components of the plan. Under advanced planning for connectivity, we will coordinate our current and ongoing regional planning efforts, and we will also coordinate transit priority ahead of enhanced rail services, and we will maximize the benefits for success of rail. And the key outcome of this work will be for us to implement priority projects and guide the future grant applications in collaboration. For rail and transit network integration, we will identify regionally significant transit connections, analyze schedules and routes, and we will recommend the transit corridor and connectivity projects together. Last but not least, for station area land use and TOD action planning, we will identify opportunity areas and localize the gaps and needs. And we will develop a toolbox of actionable TOD supportive land use policies and actions. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Autumn for procurement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Momo. So in June of 25, the authority did release an RFQ through Planet Bids. We did send it to chambers and DBE firms as well. And then we received 6 statements of qualifications on the due date, and the firms are listed on this slide. They're all from California and local as well. So the Procurement and Contracts Department deemed 4 of the 6 statements to be responsive of meeting the RFQ requirements. Interviews were held and the written statements were scored along with the interviews. The combined scores of both the written statement and the interviews determined the final scores, and the final ranking here is showed in order, showing Jacobs Engineering as the top ranked. So based on that final ranking, staff did deem Jacobs Engineering as the top ranked firm. The cost was determined to be fair, reasonable, and in line with the scope of work needed. The agreement will be effective upon execution by both parties for an amount a little over $599,000. Due to the grant guidelines, the work must be completed by June 30th of 27, but the authority can request an extension on the grant if needed. And then if approved, this contract can be extended twice for up to 6 months each to meet the grant requirements. Funding for this project is identified in the annual business plan, and then the future year's costs will also be brought to the board as part of that approval process. And then staff recommends approval of this agreement, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Autumn. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, any questions from the audience? Anybody online?
Seeing none online.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Burgess,
Gonzalez will second.
second by Letty. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Directors Chiesa,
I'm sorry. Aye.
Fugazi,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Shucklian,
Aye.
Pedroso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burgess,
Yes.
Alternate Singh Allen,
Yes.
Chair Verboen.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you very much. We'll move on now to item number 9, Gold Runner Service Food and Beverage Program Update.
Good morning, directors, chair, vice chair, and directors online. So, with the food and beverage program for the Gold Runner, I think that we've seen a lot of evolution. We've seen a lot of challenges and a lot of new territory that is unfortunately uncharted for us, but, eventually will be kind of the test case for everyone else. But before we kind of dive into the most recent updates, I just want to do some framing because I know that there's a lot to unpack here. And so when you think about, just what we've been challenged with in the most recent years is the fact that, we have new equipment that's come into the service. That new equipment doesn't have the same amenities or infrastructure as our bi-level historic legacy fleet of cars. So that means we don't have a cafe car. Years ago, the decision was to try to introduce vending on board the trains, something new, different. And so that process has just taken a little bit longer than what was anticipated. And at that same time, the venture cars were coming into service. So we've kind of converged on a couple different really important initiatives that, we've had to kind of just augment some of our steps. So I wanted to just give that background for framing. And then when we think about just kind of where we were a year ago, so a year ago, we were in a place where we had more and more venture train sets coming into service. We also were at a point where we had to be able to figure out, okay, how do we provide some type of food and beverage for those who are in a venture car versus those who were able to do onboard transactions on the legacy fleet? And then we got to a point of inequity. So, some passengers would wind up getting some complimentary items on their way up, and they may, be on a different train set or a different equipment, and then they can do sales, So it was just really at the point where, we needed to provide some equity amongst all riders so they knew what to expect. And so we made the decision to go full complimentary across the service. Also, when it came to just the increasing costs that we were seeing from Amtrak for food and beverage, we really had to make a decision because we could not, afford to be able to take on those added costs and not have any way of being able to recoup anything through onboard sales. And so we also found that we needed to kind of move forward with the pilot of a third-party provisioning solution. And so all of these things started to happen at once. And so with the board support, we were able to get approval to onboard a third-party provisioner as well as go full complimentary across the service. And so in doing so, we had certain goals that we were trying to achieve when it came to containing some of those costs. We knew that we weren't going to be able to see any immediate cost reduction, but we wanted to at least be able to try to keep our costs within the balance of what we had experienced in prior years. And so with that transition to third-party provisioning, we looked at certain costs that we thought, okay, these will, some will remain, but there are others that we will be able to eliminate or reduce. And so you'll see that for some of those national supervision costs that Amtrak has, we reduced those by over half. We were going after more reductions in like regional supervision. We lost that battle, but we're not giving up. And then there were some other direct costs coming from Amtrak that we were able to eliminate, like commissary management. Why pay for a commissary when we don't even have food that, is perishable that we can provide? So we really needed to kind of augment things. And of course, getting our inventory from the third-party provisioner and then the commissary supply. So we were able to kind of swap some of those costs out, which has helped. And then when you're looking at, this chart here, this is just about the non-labor associated costs for being able to run the food and beverage program. And you can already see in that blue section from FY 24 to 25, those costs from Amtrak went up so high. And it was just, one of those things where that's where we knew we had to make a change. And so you'll see in that yellow section, that's where we onboarded the third-party provisioner. And you kind of just see that we've been able to contain the cost because that was the plan. And so from a dollars and cents perspective, because I know Director Fugazi likes to look at those numbers, we went from having, for calendar year 2024, a rider subsidy of $5.27, and that's with us being able to have some onboard sales. And we had, I think, one or two trains that did not. For now, we are at a point where we are seeing an average of $6.73 for that subsidy, which I think is a great accomplishment in consideration of we are literally giving the food away, and we're also in a time where everything just costs more. So I think we've done a really excellent job of trying to just keep ourselves in a place of stability. And then there's the passenger feedback. What's their experience been? So we get surveys through Amtrak, and these are post-trip surveys. So these are only from riders who have been on board the train. And so what you see here is our overall CSI, Customer Service Index score. So that's our blue bar that you see. And then what you see in the gray bar, that's our food and beverage specific scoring there. And so, in January, that's when we kind of turned on the new complimentary service. And what we saw was that the food and beverage scores were going up higher than they had ever been for this service. And then, the plan was to get Canteen, the third-party provisioner, onboarded in January. Took some time just through some logistical challenges, but they came on board in May. We do see that there was a dip right away. And after some investigation, we were able to find that unfortunately we didn't have all of the support needed on board the train. And so working with Amtrak and some of their leaders, we were able to make sure that the staff on board were more supportive of the program. And so you see that, also with the green line there, that's on-time performance. My colleague Nathan, he will get into some of that in later discussion today. But what you can see is that when the train is not operating on time, of course, we're going to see the overall service scores drop. But more importantly, when you think about it, if you're in an hour or more delay, well, now you don't have the option to get more food or different things like that. And so that also adds to some of the frustration, which is understandable. But we do see that, for October, the on-time performance has started to go up. And just like that, the CSI scores are starting to go up as well. Now, when we think about kind of just where we're going, where we're at for vending, we have been able to see some advancements. This is a very tricky process. It's very nuanced because of the safety requirements, the regulatory changes that have happened. And my colleague Jordan and his team, they've really been working on trying to, from a mechanical perspective, fight every battle. And they're being successful with this. So that means that they've completed the fire safety analysis. There have been custom brackets that had to be designed to be able to make sure the equipment can stay in place. That work is done. And then we also found that we needed to adjust some of the plumbing on board the train for fresh water to the coffee machine. So we're really looking at this from every angle, everything that we need to do to pull this and drag it across the finish line. And then, so the goal right now, the next kind of milestone that we need to hit is to be able to introduce the pilot of the vending cars on board in February of next year. And so those wouldn't be in operations for passengers to use, but more or less that's our period to test everything, to make sure that the infrastructure can support having the machines on board. And then at the earliest, July 2026, that's when we plan on having that go live for passengers to be able to do onboard transactions. And, with the pilot going successfully, the plan is to deploy the machines across the entire venture car fleet. So we may get to a point, where we have kind of that hybrid environment where we do have some sales for vending, but then also still doing some complementary. And so we know that we'll need to, kind of just continue to watch over how we balance this out as far as not going too high in our investment in subsidy, but also being able to make sure that the machines are doing what they're supposed to do. And then lastly, one of the other things that we're doing is we're getting very creative because we want to make sure that our passengers have what they need to be able to do their trips, because we recognize that these are long distances that most of our passengers are traveling, and we're looking at whatever way that we can, either onboard the train or off the train, to be able to satisfy a need. And so we're having really good discussions with the city of Bakersfield right now to be able to introduce a food truck program. And so right now, the city has very strict rules about what, food truck operations can be in the city, but they were able to dig through municipal codes and find a little bit of an opportunity for us to kind of slide this in. And so what this would look like is their current taxi rideshare area, they would transition that over directly in front of the station. And then that area would then be converted for a food truck. So our investment would be some signage, doing some repainting. We'd also have to make sure that the waste receptacles are put into place, and then just the ongoing cost of the additional waste management. But the city is also excited because they're not looking at it just from the perspective of the Gold Runner passengers. They're also thinking about the Greyhound passengers that also use the station, the Flixbus riders, and even the local route. So for their perspective, they see this as a worthwhile investment. So we are getting some strong support there. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Marcus. Any questions from the board? Ms. Burgess.
Yeah, I think during these times when we're trying to stretch our dollars while balancing trying to create the best customer experience possible, it does take that creativity and obvious enthusiasm and problem solving. So I appreciate that. You said something about early on poor staff support in May. What was the thing that we needed to do to make it more supported?
I don't know that it was so much something that we needed to do. I think that it came down to some of the local leadership really making sure that their staff understood why we were making this transition and why it was required.
Okay.
I don't think that their practice has been to get into like the numbers with their staff as far as, what those costs are and why we're making these decisions. But this is something that's completely new for us and for them as well. And so I think there was just a period of time where they didn't understand and became a little disgruntled, quite frankly.
Okay. And it sounds like the overall satisfaction numbers kind of all went up together. And so it's not just this one thing, it's all of it that kind of impacts each other.
100%.
Great. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else online? Any other comments? I have a question. So when we have it all complete and said and done, is it that our staff is going to stock it, or are we going to do a vendor to keep them stocked?
So we will continue to explore working with the third-party vendor to be able to do the provisioning. At this point, I don't see us being able to go back to Amtrak for provisioning. We just can't go back to that huge cost variance. And then I do have another item where we'll talk a little bit more about what our plan is going to be moving forward.
Very good.
We do have a public comment.
Okay, we have public comment.
All right, and this is from Kurt Thomas. I will allow to speak now and start your 3-minute timer.
Morning, Kurt.
Hi. So there's two things that I want to address. First, I was curious if you guys could go into why the costs from Amtrak ballooned so much in the 24-25 year. I think that was the year that it ballooned. The second thing that I was hoping to bring up is that we have a pretty high incidence of diabetes a pretty high occurrence of food deserts in the Central Valley, and providing ridership with more vending machines kind of really doesn't jive with a great user experience. It kind of just enhances the poor access to food in the valley. I mean, I know nobody's getting on the Amtrak necessarily for fresh salads, but you know, if everywhere you go and everything you do is just vending machines everywhere and little stop and robs, then when are you ever going to have a chance to eat right? I think that this doesn't really serve the community well, and I really hope that you guys will consider in the long term bringing back the cafe cars.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I comment on that? Are we making an effort to bring in healthy foods? I know here in Contra Costa, we recently passed something that encouraged or actually required folks to have, in addition to whatever they have by the cash register, but healthy options. Is that within our considerations when we're looking at what's going to be available?
Absolutely. One of the things that we always strived for, even when Amtrak was kind of managing our full food and beverage operations, was to go after locally sourced products. And so now that we have kind of full reign over what our variety of makeup of food and beverage options are, then that's what we will be going for, because we know that's what our passengers want. We know that's what they deserve.
Yeah.
And so we're always going to make sure that we try to look for as many alternatives as possible.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes you also want your comfort junk food, so there might be a few of those little.
Yeah. I think that, you know, being involved in this part of the business for several years with Marcus, I think one of the things that is a challenge for us to balance is, you know, every time we do a passenger survey, everyone says, no, we want salads and wraps, and then those are the things that are spoiled. So it is a balance between what is selling and what we are providing. And certainly in the complimentary space right now, it's very limited in what we can provide. When we add in the vending machines, we'll have a variety of products, and we can prioritize some of those to be really healthy options.
Thank you. I know from my experiences, it depends on who you're sitting by. I was sitting on a train one day, and the gal next to me was eating a kale salad with some nuts in it, or maybe some quinoa or whatever. And the gal across me was eating some fried chicken. And I tell you what, that fried chicken outdid that kale. And I've ridden the train too. We've gone with groups, and we've taken ice chests full of breakfast burritos and Bloody Marys. So you could be intimidated to not eat healthy. So when no one's looking, we don't always want to eat healthy. So
I'll be sitting next to you.
I was just gonna say, I'm going with Chair Fubu next time.
But if you're standing there and you haven't eaten all day, and there is a healthy option comparatively, that might make all the difference for somebody. So I do think having those considerations.
It won't for me. I'd go for a Amtrak dog over anything else. It smells so good when they're eating it. Yeah.
We do have another public comment online from Farah Mars.
Our Mars, all yours.
I will allow to speak and start your timer now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to echo the previous comment and also the board member from Contra Costa County. In addition to the San Joaquin Valley being a region with above average levels of diabetes, over 2/3 of the population is lactose intolerant, and the current set of complementary snacks generally do not include any options that do not have dairy in them. So just noting as the new contract is issued, as the relationship with Canteen evolves, and as the vending machines are brought forward, having some perhaps non-perishable healthy options that are accessible to lactose intolerant people, and also that are not contributing to diabetes would be a good goal to set. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions?
Thank you. We do have 2 written comments that were submitted, one from Strong Towns Merced in the comment section, as well as an emailed comment from Stan Wilson earlier this morning. Again, they will be included in the meeting minutes.
Okay. If there's no more questions or comments, we'll move on to the next item. This is information only. Thank you, Marcus. And I think the next item is yours.
All right, you're going to get used to me today. So, you know, this is focused on that relationship with Canteen for our third-party provisioning. Again, just for reference, we onboarded them as a vendor in 2025. And so they had specific requirements that they needed to do under that contract. And so just from a structural standpoint, they have a facility that's very near our Bakersfield station. They have trucks that go multiple times a day to meet our trains. There's great coordination. And then they also are now loading onto the trains as well, which was not part of their original scope, but we needed, you know, their support to be able to do it. And so they've been a great partner to be able to take that additional responsibility on. And so, you know, just from an overall performance perspective, it's been a, you know, challenging start initially to get that transition done because you got to, you know, get all of the Amtrak procured items off, get all the Canteen procured items on, and just get into that regular flow. But I will say, you know, even though they got onboarded a little bit later, what we have been able to establish is a very good, strong structure for being able to engage staff, Amtrak, and Canteen, because we need that feedback to understand how things are going on board the train, even, you know, coming from Canteen, talk about inventory planning, any service updates, and then, of course, any challenges or opportunities to improve the program overall. And Amtrak and Canteen, outside of staff being there, they also have a weekly reporting system to be able to, you know, share any upcoming ridership impacts or anything to make sure that we can adjust the levels of inventory on board the train. So it's become a really good fluid process. And there's definitely been, you know, just a really good change in how we work together. And so I just really appreciate, you know, a lot of the train attendants and their supervisors for being able to embrace this program. I would say that that group in particular have been very supportive of, you know, this new venture that we've gone into. Okay, so now with the kind of just breakdown of things. So Wayback Machine, vending solution, we tried a joint procurement to be able to get one vendor to give us vending and third-party provisioning all in one. That did not work, so we had to split the procurement. And then the vending side was successful. The third-party provisioner was not. Well, then we went into, okay, venture cars are now in service. So we've got to get the complimentary food out there. We have the third-party provisioner. We were supposed to pilot for a year and then be able to do an industry day. We had to get started late, so we don't even have a year's worth of data to be able to work from. And now we have these converging initiatives where we have the vending pilot approaching, we have the Canteen contract expiring because we were just going to do it for a year, be able to assess and be able to prove to the market that there is a business opportunity in working with the Gold Runner. Well, we still need to finalize the development of the plans for vending to make sure that we understand what it's going to take to be able to get these machines not only on board, but to service them, update them, rotate inventory. And then where we're at today is we need to continue and extend our contract with Canteen, which expires at the end of this calendar year, to make sure that we can continue to support the complimentary service program, as well as to be able to, you know, hopefully identify a way to be able to integrate a third party for the vending inventory solution. So with this one, this is an action item. So we need to be able to make another investment. And with that, I will hand it over to Autumn.
Thank you.
And if I could actually, before Autumn begins, just to add a little bit of like flavor to what Marcus said, we are really the only service doing this in this way. So we're not typical. And so when we went out to the market to procure these services, they didn't know how to respond. And they were clear with us, like, we don't know how to respond to what you're asking. You run trains all around California. How do we meet those trains? What does that look like? So the process that we've been going through with Canteen, we've been very open and honest with them that this is a pilot so that we can then educate the market on how to respond for future procurements of similar services. And so really all of this is gearing up towards an industry day where we would say, here's what we've been doing with a third-party provisioner. This is what it sort of looks like what companies in this space would like to bid on this work. But because it's unconventional, it has taken time for even our current pilot vendor to sort of understand and get up to speed. And so that's sort of where we are today, where that period is ending and staff feels like we need more time to prove the concept out as well as to have the industry day to engage the market more fully.
Thank you. So the Rail Commission or the procurement manual, the staff report is very detailed. So very detailed. I'm just going to touch the high level points. The procurement manual sets the criteria for a sole source or a non-competitive purchase. You're much taller than me. Which is where there's other source of supply, but because of financial, schedule, performance, or other factors, a single source of supply is immune from effective competition. And between Marcus and David, and I believe that that's shared and expressed here how it's immune at this point. So at this time, it is in the best interest of the authority to approve a sole source agreement with Canteen for these services. The Procurement and Contracts Department and a director have confirmed that the procurement qualifies as a sole source. Budgeted funds are available and legal counsel has been consulted. So staff, in accordance with the procedures in the procurement manual, have determined that this agreement does qualify. The initial contract for the pilot program is expiring at the end of this calendar year, so we do need to enter into a new agreement that would be effective January 1st, 2026. And that new not to exceed amount will be 3.1 million. The price went up because, as Marcus mentioned, they're now taking the actual provisions on board and loading them onto the trains, and so it does take more money to do so. And so the approved business plan has funding in it for the third-party provisioning, and that's where the funding for this project would come from. And so staff asks for approval for this agreement, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. One question would be, this is what we're doing now and it's free of charge to the ridership, right? This is a $6 charge that we subsidize. So there's no recoup on this money. But someday there will be once we get established.
Absolutely.
So this may only take a year and then we'll move on with our own process. And we'll understand at this point what riders are liking and not liking, correct?
Yes.
Very good. Any questions from the board?
Yeah. So thank you for giving that background, because that's where I was like, well, somebody else must be doing this. And apparently they're not, which again talks about being creative and also helps us identify that we are unique in what we do and how we do it. And going back to what I said, stretching our dollar while creating a good customer experience is all of that. And sometimes people have so much pressure to produce an idea and be successful and not have the room to say, well, wait a minute, we haven't learned enough yet. So I appreciate you going through the whole process of what you've been doing and why we're here. We're trying to stretch our dollar and create a good customer experience. And us humans are not afraid of saying we need to learn a little bit more. So I think this is great.
Very good. Any questions online?
We do have Director Fugazi.
Director Fugazi, all yours.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that, when we, with ACE, when we did the San Francisco 49er train, we had a food truck out there and people were able to grab what they wanted from the food truck and then bring it onto the train. So I realized people, they might not realize, they're on there, they don't know. But, if there are street vendors that are licensed and permitted and all that, I don't know if they might be interested in being at the station just before people get on. Just a suggestion, because food trucks are really big here in Stockton, and people do flock to them. So,
Very good. Any other comments?
Seeing none online.
And anybody in the audience? Okay, this is an action item. I'll take them.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Supervisor Burgess.
Second.
Second by
sorry.
Shucklian.
Burgess.
Chuckley,
Burgess.
second.
Thank you.
Is that right? Burgess.
Burgess.
Burgess. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Do we have a second?
We do from Director Shucklian.
I could say Shucklian.
You better.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Directors Chiesa,
Aye.
Fugazi,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Shucklian,
Aye.
Pedroso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burgess.
Yes.
Alternate Singh had to leave. Chair Verboen.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to item number 11, discussion and action. Brian. Sorry about that.
Good morning, Director, Vice Chair, Directors. For about the last 2 years, and I haven't done this well, so forgive me. I got this in my hand. So for about the last 2 years, through our interagency transfer agreement, we're the state, the authority, LoSAN, and the Capital Corridor, they have an equipment working group. So we get together every 2 weeks. We talk about projects that need to be done. So what we've done is, for the last 2 years, we've looked at what do we need to do to get the state of California's own equipment, the rail cars, up in a state of good repair. Working through that process, we're also at the same time going through the mechanical transition. So through that, Caltrans did an audit of the equipment for what's the condition like, which gave us a good idea of what we needed to do, but also gave us a good starting point for when the authority took over the mechanical transition to see, what's going on with the equipment, what things we're going to see, good, bad, and indifferent. So it allowed us to, get a good ground zero point. So through that, the working group also identified all the different projects that we needed to get those into a state of good repair. Those projects were categorized in two different areas. One was deferred maintenance projects, and the other was modernization and upgrades. So through that, with the transition, the working group decided, well, you know what? Since the authority is doing this, take the mechanical transition over, we think they should be the ones that lead this project. Coming up, getting all the projects, contracting them out, using our third-party contractor to do some of the work, not all of it, but some of it, contracting the rest out, procuring components in-house, and so we have control over it. So on November 6th, Caltrans requested that the authority put together a schedule, contracting schedule, timeline for doing all the work, cost estimates to be brought back to them so we could sit down and go, how long is it going to take, what's it going to cost us, and how are you going to do it? So the initial request was so I have to look at the screen here, 40 coach cars, 21 cab cars, 6 bike cars, and 2 business cars. Now that's a majority of the fleet. There are also additional 4 cafe cars, 14 diner cars, and that are not part of this project. Those will be coming on later on as this project moves forward. So we're not throwing everything in the kitchen sink at once, or we're taking this in sort of a chunk, because the last set of cars are completely different than what we're doing today. So just for everyone to see, we have a bunch of different high level categories. I'm not going to read them all off to you, but on the screen you can see we have defined as deferred maintenance, modernization, upgrades. So all those are being looked at and prioritized on who can do it, who's going to contract it out, whether the authority does it through a third-party contractor for doing the work, or we're going to contract it out to a third-party vendor, and who's going to buy the components. So we're working through that right now with Caltrans. Of this list you see on the screen, 22 total projects have been identified for the work. So you see those are the high level ones. We have other ones that are underneath that, or more lower level that can be broken out. As I mentioned, some of the projects we're looking our third-party contractor TASI can do, such as the brake systems, door systems. They're doing those right now. Caltrans had a project going with Amtrak to replace all the door controllers. Those are now being transitioned over to TASI, so we're doing that work. So some of these things are in process, but it's still one of the projects we need to identify for all the vehicles. Other things that we're looking at that we will be doing ourselves, contracting-wise, as the authority would be contracting out for the flooring. We'll we work with the procurement department, they would contract that out. We would bring the contractor in, we'd be able to oversee the work. And the main reason for that is we will then have the ability, we will control the work. Because the last we want to have is have something contract out to somebody else without us controlling it. And then also we can't make service. We don't have enough equipment in place. So we want to make sure that whatever we do for this project is consistent with the goals of this board, the Capital Corridor Board, as well as LoSAN, when projects come in, we get the cars in and out and service can be maintained. So this project to be successful, we are going to be coordinating very closely with Caltrans on the schedules, the funding, and the timelines. Any project we do will come before this board as either a budget amendment this year or be part of the annual business plan adoption process in future fiscal years. So at this time, there's no fiscal impact. Staff recommends the authority provide direction to staff to proceed with engaging in the detailed planning, contracting work associated with the maintenance modernization projects set forth above.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions?
Sure, since I'm here.
Supervisor Burgess.
So in a previous life, I had a fleet management company that I helped run. So I'm kind of thinking of it from that point of view. Are all these contractors specialists, or is this kind of someone that does, say, brakes, but can work on various types? Is this a specialty?
It is for like the brake systems. That's what our contractor does on a regular basis.
Okay.
They go and they work on the brakes. The brake systems now are specialized
Right.
for rail system for the railroad. The flooring, all that is you just go out to a normal flooring company.
Right.
And they come out, they bid on it, they take the flooring out, they install the flooring with whatever flooring we have on the vehicles. That's just normal things.
So you have like probably a schedule based on time and then probably some other based on mileage? Or is it all
Most of it's on, well, it's life cycle.
life cycle?
You know, even depending on, for example, carpeting.
Right.
You know, carpeting, we have carpeting on the vehicles.
Right.
That's a big issue. You know, we have to replace that more regular basis. If we go with flooring, no, that'll last longer. We can keep it cleaner. We can keep the vehicle cleaner.
And are we able to tap into the best pricing for parts and all of those kind of things?
Yes.
Okay. And then those were my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions online?
Seeing none.
Nothing? Anybody in the audience? Brian, are you able to track C with the community college to train the next generation coming in to help out in this project?
I think once we get the mechanical side going, they can come in, they can observe what's going on as a process going on. Right now, there'll be something very similar to what we're doing on the ACE side. We're calling it a midlife overhaul, but a lot of it is more of life cycle maintenance. So for example, we had carpeting, we had flooring. That's all coming out. Seats are being refurbished, new cushions, new seat coverings are coming in. So everyone can see that process as it works. So once we get the mechanical side going, I think we will be able to do that to give them some hands-on experience.
Very good. Okay, I'll need a motion.
Okay, I'll give you that one too.
Motion by Supervisor Burgess. And we have a second by
Second.
Mayor Fugazi. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Directors Chiesa,
Aye.
Fugazi,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Shucklian,
Aye.
Pedroso,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burgess,
Yes.
Chair Verboen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is item number 12. Marcus.
Back by
Back
popular
again.
demand. All right, here we go. Taking off my food and beverage hat now. So we want to look at just, what the first quarter of the Gold Runner performance has been. And so we have some metrics that we'll go through, and then I'll also hand it off to Nathan to go through some of the more operational stats. So right now, where we're at for this first quarter, so that's July through September of this year, we've hit 226,000 riders, and then we've also seen about 7.7 million in revenue. You can see just year over year, we are a little down from where we were. However, I will say, just from a context perspective, when it came to July and August, the revenue numbers were up about 2% year over year. And so we have hit a dip, but that's more to do with just some of the services that, service disruptions that we've seen. And then if you just kind of look, kind of year over year, what we can see by each quarter, we are continuing to see some growth, but it has been challenged quite a bit, especially this year. But we are looking at different strategies, some of which my colleague Renee will talk about, to be able to address some of these ridership growth issues. And then also, when it goes back to July and August, Mariah, who you'll hear from in just a moment, she was able to really work with our ad agency and with Chad, who looks at our data, to understand what are the opportunities, where are the populations that we can seek out. And so we were trying different campaigns, offers specifically targeted for students and then for seniors, and even adjusting some of our creative to talk to those audiences. And those really helped get our revenue up. Now we just got to figure out how to get it back up so we can close that gap. And then similarly, the revenue is going to follow pretty much what ticketing is doing. However, I will say that in October, we did do our fare increase. So we'll just continue to monitor to see how that does impact our revenue over time. We may start to see that start to grow a little bit, higher than the ridership. And then lastly, we do look at, kind of the station groups by market, so we can really focus in on where are we seeing the most opportunities, or what needs the most attention. And overall, just for this quarter, and it's, I think, a little different, we are seeing a little bit of dip, everywhere. However, Bay Area has been performing really strong. That North San Joaquin Valley has been stable. We have seen some drops offs in Central Valley in the southern section, but again, we do have some initiatives to help support that.
Give you just a little break from Marcus for a second. As Marcus alluded to, though, quarter one for the Gold Runner service in terms of on-time performance was a very challenging quarter. We'll get into some of the metrics and the causes of that, but I do want to mention that although it was a challenging quarter, a lot of the challenges that we faced in quarter one are now behind us or significantly improved. So before we get into the numbers, I wanted to talk for a second about our goal for on-time performance. SJJPA has set a goal for the Gold Runner service at 83%, and you can see that represented by the dotted line here on this chart. You might ask yourself, well, why not something more aggressive, like 90%, for instance, like we have on the ACE service? And I'll give you a couple of the reasons why. On the Gold Runner service, we face a different set of challenges that we do on a commuter service like ACE or even the Capital Corridor service. We operate on a much larger expanse of territory than those services, with over 300 miles of trackway. And then in addition to that, we also operate on two different host railroad territories, freight railroads like BNSF and Union Pacific, that are operating very large freight trains that we share those tracks with. And so it creates a different set of challenges for the service. And so this is a number that we think is a realistic expectation for the service. And you can kind of see that when you take a look at the numbers for the previous fiscal year, represented by these blue bars on the chart here, that we're able to hit very close to that mark on a number of months throughout the past year. And so we think with some continued work with our partners and collaboration that this is a number that we can attain on a consistent basis. To get into some of the numbers for this first quarter, you can see there in July, we'd had a really substantial dip over the previous year, dropping 30 points down to 50%. And then a really slight increase in August up to 51%. And then in September, a very big drop down to 27%. I can take you back just a moment to our September board meeting. We brought an item to you that was to make you aware of a number of disruptions in service that were going to occur throughout the month of September due to a number of projects that were happening and kind of converging all at once for the month of September. And you can see that really reflected in that drop that we saw in September. To get into some of the broader reasons for the decline in OTP throughout quarter one, in addition to those things that happened in September, one of the things I did talk about at the previous meeting was, and that Brian alluded to a moment ago, is the mechanical transition. The start of the first quarter, we started to transition out of Amtrak performing all of the maintenance on the bi-level and locomotive fleet over to Transit America Services performing all of that work. And as we really got into the full transition of that, we were able to see
the amount of work that's really going to be required to bring the whole fleet up to the operating level that we really desire, and that will give us the dependability that we need. And so we have been experiencing some short-term equipment shortages throughout this quarter, so much so that we did cancel a couple of round trips in the month of September, as did the Capital Corridor Service. And that was really to give TASI some breathing room to work on some of this equipment and try to get it back up to speed. And as challenging as that sounds, it was actually not the leading cause of delay throughout the first quarter. That was actually due to a couple of major projects that BNSF had on their trackways. In the month of July, they had a smaller project on their Stockton subdivision. And as I talked to you a bit about in September, when we have these kinds of projects, even if they're not during our service hours, our trains are still very heavily affected by those projects in the form of speed restrictions in those areas throughout the day that all of our trains have to deal with. And so in July, those speed restrictions were the leading cause of delay, as well as in September on the much more major project that BNS have had in our southern region for about a 50-mile stretch between Bakersfield and Fresno. And so that is the reason for the big drop in on-time performance in the month of September. So how are we doing now? Before I get to that, I'll give you a little bit more of a visual representation of how those delays stacked up. You can see it in July with the project and the maintenance transition, how it affected the service. And then you might think about August. We only had a 1% increase in August compared to July without those projects. And that was really due to the fact that August was sort of the peak of the delays that we experienced with the mechanical transition. And so since then, that has started to trend back in a more positive direction. And then you can really see there in September how all of these things kind of came together to create that perfect storm of disruptions. So happy to report, of course, TASI is still diligently working to repair and improve the equipment situation, and locomotive ability is trending in a positive direction. So we have been able to restore those trips that were canceled, both on the Capital Corridor Service as well as ours. Those were brought back in early October. The projects that BNSF had going on in the previous quarter are now complete, and all of those speed restrictions are now lifted. And I think more importantly, looking ahead to this next year, our partners are already meeting with BNSF and Union Pacific to take a look at any upcoming projects for the next year so that we can avoid kind of a repeat of anything that's going to impact the service that heavily and take some steps to mitigate that same situation. I mentioned that the service is trending back in a positive direction. And we did see that in October with almost a 40% increase over September, back up to 66%. It's still not where we want to be, but we are getting back to something that's more in a positive direction. And then to go along with that, something else that staff is working on is an upcoming schedule change that will help address some of the recurring delays that we see on a day-to-day basis with both the freight side as well as the passenger train side conflicts that we face. And so along those lines, I wanted to mention that something that we've been talking about for a number of years now, it feels like, is the addition of the 7th round trip, or bringing back that 7th round trip that we haven't ran since prior to COVID times. And so with this upcoming schedule change, I'm happy to report that we are looking at bringing back that, or we will be bringing back that 7th round trip on December 8th of next month. And all of the things that we've been working on for many months, getting the equipment availability up to par and Amtrak staffing in place, as well as the approvals from the host railroad, has all come together to enable us to do that now at this time. And so hopefully at the next or a future quarter update, Marcus will be able to give you some improved ridership and revenue numbers with the addition of that trip. And so this was an information item. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
This is fun. I get to be here and
I know. We could run this thing by ourselves, huh?
So, on-time performance, 83%. What are the benefits of meeting that? Is it strictly customer satisfaction? I know in the airlines, there's an expectation of on time and all of that. What are the benefits? And I'm going to ask sometimes questions in general, because I think sometimes people have just become interested in what we do. So I don't want you to think I'm I'm asking questions because I really want people to kind of understand why we're doing what we do.
Yeah, maybe Marcus can talk a little bit more about this, but I think as you saw, our CSI score kind of follows the performance of the trains, on-time performance. And when we take a dip, it gets you in a bad mood when you're not at your destination on time. So maybe you can add a little bit more to that.
Yeah, and even when it comes to just what we are responsible for delivering as managers of this service, the state does require that we work towards hitting a 90% on-time performance goal. So that means making sure that passengers arrive from point A to point B, and that's all through along the route. So we're looking at when those trains hit the stations as well as when the passenger finally arrives. And we know that, from a passenger experience, if you are able to rely on us, if we're able to make sure that you're getting where you need to be, you'll use us again.
Right.
And so, with a mostly leisure ridership audience, they aren't on the train every day by and large. And so we want to make sure that every experience that they have is just as just as good as the last time. So we want to bring them back again.
So what I wrote, anticipating the answer, was it keeps our revenue up because people are satisfied and they're coming back. Okay, so then on ridership numbers, I know here in the Bay Area, we've seen shifts and changes. And so it's really nice that we're adding that 7th trip again. Are we seeing the potential? I know that Kurt Thomas was talking about commuters, and you were talking about the Bay Area being very strong. Is there ever a option of considering adding something that does have a schedule that provides that kind of a commuter option?
Yeah, the state in its sort of oversight of all of the corridors has particular interest in understanding how to leverage all of our train schedules together. So many of those morning train slots into the Bay Area right now are being served by the Capital Corridor service. And so we continue to talk to them about, well, what would be the market opportunity for us? The challenge for the Gold Runner service is we start the train all the way in Bakersfield. Right. And so, even the train that arrives at Jack London Square, sort of in the 10 o'clock time frame, that's starting in Bakersfield, in the 4 o'clock time frame, right? So it's a little bit challenging. In future iterations of the service, perhaps as our corridor becomes shorter due to the start of the high-speed rail service in the valley, we'll have a different level of flexibility of delivering trains to our end destinations at an earlier time frame.
So in the long run, we don't anticipate having a different type of a ridership model in the future until possibly high-speed rail comes along.
Right now, that's not in the long-term plans, though it's something that we continue to explore, when we do long-range planning and scheduling.
All right, thank you.
And just as a point of clarification too, for the 7th round trip that's coming, that's going to be an additional round trip from Bakersfield to Sacramento. So it won't touch the Bay Area market. However, there is a short-term initiative that does address some of the commuter opportunities. And so you'll hear about this in a future meeting, but we're looking at introducing Route 40, which would be coming from Merced through Gilroy down into the Silicon Valley. So that way, those folks who are doing other types of travel can also utilize our service. So we're looking at different ways to be able to serve the audiences. And, it just is going to take some time before we can be, a little bit more expansive.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions from the board members? I know I live by the tracks, and they're doing the tire replacement right now, and they stage the trains, about 30 miles to the south, and sometimes they back up quite a while. So it's like a slinky effect. It's like it backs up, and pretty soon you can see your station on Amtrak, but you can't get off. So it'd be nice if that's done. But that's just part of having a railroad track. You got to do that every 10 years or so. Do we have any questions from the audience?
We do have one online public comment from Farah Mars.
Farah Mars, it's all yours.
Yes, I'd like to just express thanks for bringing back the 7th trip. Perhaps to address the board members' point about getting commuter service into the Bay Area, maybe something that the JPA could look into would be having some type of short line service, maybe a train from Fresno to Martinez with bus connections from Fresno to LA, Stockton to Sacramento, whatever, so that we could see whether the Gold Runner could support some of the interesting commuter trips. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Seeing none.
Anybody in the audience? Okay, thank you. Good job, guys. Move on now to item 13. San Joaquin. Glasses on. Mariah, good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors and Council and staff. Today, my name is Mariah Bryan, and today I'm going to talk about the San Joaquin's rebranding. And I just want to say I appreciate everyone that has come up here and said Gold Runner and not San Joaquin's. So shout out to everyone and online commentators as well. So just a little background. So Amtrak San Joaquin's was officially rebranded to Gold Runner on November 3rd, and it is now the primary public-facing name with operated by Amtrak as our co-branded operator. The transition has been rolling out in phases, so that includes our marketing materials, our website, our apps, all of our digital assets, social media, email, and then it's going to be followed by physical updates to our equipment and also our signage at the stations. So for the brand identity, we have a brand new look, a very bold, compelling logo. As you can see, the colors have been very much the same as previous for the San Joaquin's line. The only update is that it's a bit more modernized. So it's a bit brighter. The dark blue is a bit more darker, I would say. And we just want to really appreciate our team for Jeffrey Scott Advertising for putting together our brand identity and ensuring that we look cohesive and modern. So our partnership with Amtrak. So this has been a good collaboration with Amtrak. It required a lot of people working both the agency staff and Amtrak teams, and we were able to work on co-branded elements. We were able to work on the website. We were able to work on a social media strategy and operational communications that really made sense for the service. For November 3rd, for the launch, we did all collaborate as well on rider communication. So everything from our PID system, email, social media, station flyers, press release, GTFS updates, reservation systems, in-app messaging, and website materials. And this is going to be a continued ongoing teamwork support to ensure that we're continuing to build brand awareness and ensure a seamless transition for riders. Our new website. So I want to appreciate all of our team and all of our efforts to get on a call at 9 a.m. on November 3rd and make this happen within 30 minutes. So this included a redirect from Amtrak, SanJoaquins.com to Gold Runner, making sure that the site was up and running and everything was functional. So here you'll see a showcase of what we look like on mobile and also on our desktop devices. We've updated the booking module to be more in sync with what users were used to, but also just giving it a refreshed look and also including the operated by Amtrak. Social media. So for social media, for both organic and paid materials, we have launched with a strategy after rebranding every social account to Gold Runner CA. We included teaser content that was launched prior to, and then as well as launch messaging, which included this unique podcast, and I hope everyone got a chance to see it. And then we also had post-launch engagement and influencer partnerships. So this included a few different partnerships with influencers that have been released in the subsequent weeks, as well as paid media that Marcus had mentioned as well. So we have launched a initiative for paid media to communicate the rebrand. So you'll see across the line, it'll say Gold Runner, previously Amtrak San Joaquins. And then we've also aligned this with our holiday marketing efforts across all of our paid channels. And below, you'll just see a few examples of the social content that we have released. For email marketing and our press release, we did update the homepage on October 14th. So for about 2 weeks, we had an update or a homepage pop-up that had a countdown to this rebrand. And we just wanted to gain, those that were interested in the rebrand. And we were able to collect almost 300 email signups within those 2 weeks. And each of those subscribers were entered into an automatic flow. So an automatic email was sent to them that just basically described the launch, what was changing, and just gave them some direction and guidance about the whole rebrand and what to expect. Additionally, we did share on November 3rd a launch email. So it was showcasing our new website once everything was up, and making sure that they were aware of the changes. And it was also sent from our new domain as well. This press release was also included in our email marketing, and this press release and email, and as well as Amtrak's email, generated almost 1,200 clicks to our site. So next steps. So our next steps for our Gold Runner rebranding is to continue to distribute the print materials. So you'll see here an example of our timetables, our station posters. Currently at the stations, we've only administered the flyers that were just to provide to customers if they had questions about the rebrand, and also give guidance to the station agents. So we're excited to get this material out there and see how everyone is adjusting to the new name. The biggest step is equipment. Currently, only one train has been updated with temporary stickers, just so that we could get the final placements of everything. But there have been 2 buses that have been wrapped. Coordination and collaboration is really important to this whole rebrand, and we had to coordinate with Amtrak, SJJPA, LoSAN to ensure that we were providing consistent branding across all of the equipment. And like I said, 2 of the buses have been wrapped, and then 1 of the trains, but everything is in progress. Venture Cars will keep the current decals that they have, but they will have new logo decals across the fleet. And for our bi-level equipment, it's undergoing evaluation, but currently we do have a new, more cohesive design that will kind of go along better with the bus design that you see here. So here are some of the schematics. So for the first 2, you'll see that those are the Venture Cars, and you'll see Amtrak's sub-branding here, and then Gold Runner at the top. Below that is our bi-level, so you'll see Amtrak co-branding here as well as Capital Corridor and Gold Runner. And you'll see that has that blue, light blue and yellow design that is similar to the bus ones. So the bus, actually in guidance with Amtrak's new branding, which is Amtrak Connection, you will see Amtrak Connection now be the co-branded material on the future buses. And last but not least, I wanted to give a major shout out to our consultant agency, KP and Adele, for spearheading this brand launch event on November 14th. We had over 38 elected officials attend, and 60 people were able to take a tour of the RMF, so that was really great. And we had a lot of people there, and I just want to thank everybody for attending. And with that being said, that is it from me. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Our board is disappearing. Any questions from the audience?
Seeing none.
The mayor.
Oh,
The mayor.
oh, we got the conductor up there. She had that conductor hat on last Friday. Yeah, she's enthusiastic. That's great. Do we have any questions online?
Seeing no public comment.
Nobody in the audience? Okay, well, thank you. I know for myself, I didn't thank the board for allowing me to be chairman during this time, and it's a big event for all of us. So I do appreciate the board for allowing me to be chairman through these adventures. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is going to be item 14, partnership updates. Renee.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Today I get the pleasure to provide you a partnerships update on special train services, focus on Allensworth and Council Air Museum today. This is one of the few unique ways we get to incentivize and encourage ridership aboard the Gold Runner service going forward. So we'll jump right into it and tell you what we've done recently. Part of the San Joaquin's JPA Authority Marketing and Outreach Plan includes marketing partnerships, which is an important strategy to amplify brand awareness, enhance market presence in the local community, and reach shared partner goals between the partner and the authority. The authority and the outreach teams engage with amusement parks, travel destinations, sports affiliates, community event partners to establish mutually beneficial relationships that encourage riderships aboard the Go Runner service and enhance our messaging through advertising channels such as email, website, digital platforms, social, and printed ads, which you just saw a description from Mariah. Marketing partnerships that have shown to be fruitful avenues of engagement of the component of the marketing plan has been with Colonel Allensworth State Park, and most recently, the inaugural partnership with Castle Air Museum. Brief history of Allensworth. We are in our 6th year in partnership with the State Park and Friends of Allensworth, the nonprofit that oversees the activities of the docent special signature events. This past year, we've been awarded a route to parks grant to offset some of the costs to encourage folks to ride the service to Allensworth. So we're pretty excited. Again, just a reminder, Allensworth is located between Wasco and Corcoran in Tulare County. So thanks to Director Shookland, she's still on, for the support there with the local transit connection for the special train services. Here's just a screenshot of outreach and earned media coverage that we received for the recent rededication event on October 11th. For Juneteenth, we had 500 passengers. For rededication, we had 420 something passengers. The number's coming up, but it was 121 more passengers from last year's event for rededication. The state park was awarded assembly certificates of recognition from local assembly members and a congressman. And this time around, we had improved first and last mile connectivity in partnership with Tulare Transit. They provided 2 buses instead of 1 shuttle bus this time around. So that allowed for easier accessibility back and forth once passengers arrived at the station and getting back to the station on the return trip. Here's some more highlights of the families and kids that were on board the service going to the station. As you can see, it's dark on the picture on the left. If you boarded Oakland Jack London, you boarded the train at 6 o'clock in the morning. Our outreach team was there at 5:45 a.m. to greet customers. We had about 50 to 60 passengers there, so it's exciting to see that people do plan in advance, make it out there very early, and have a great day on our special train services. So that wraps up the brief update on Juneteenth and rededication for Allensworth. And then I want to move on to the Castle Air Museum partnership. Castle Air Museum located in Atwater, California in Merced County. The Castle Air Museum is located on 35 acres of original Castle Air Force Base property. The museum has evolved into a premier showcase for families, history buffs, schools, tourists, and aviation fans, offering more than 80 restored military aircrafts. The museum hosts 5 annual signature events throughout the year. One of those is Open Cockpit Days, where they open up the aircrafts and allow visitors to step inside. These aircrafts meet veteran aviators that have been working on these mechanically or have flown these in the past, and also to be able to explore their vintage like military planes up closer. They do offer a gift shop as well too. There is food and amenities there, not just to walk around and look at the aircrafts. So the authority this year partnered with Castle Air Museum and the local transit agency Merced, the bus, to offer promotional train fares and shuttle service to and from the Merced Amtrak station to the museum for an annual cockpit day, which happened this past Labor Day weekend. With outreach and media coverage, we had about a month's time from the press release to the day of the event. So it was amazing to be able to see the amount of positive reshares on social media and the news outlets. I think in coordinating with our advertising agency, we've never had to provide responses on third-party social media threads, which is a great problem to have. But KMPH, Fox 26, reshared it more than 50 times. We had over 200 comments, people inquiring about the bus connections. We actually had 3 bus connections advertised to go to the museum. We actually provided service to 5 of the train connections just to make sure that people had a pleasant experience. And we offered connections back to the station on all the returning, I think 5 returning trips, not just the 2 that we advertised. So we made sure that everyone got there on time and got back to the station on time to make it back home. And lead up to August 3rd, day of the event, Celsa specifically designed an event. We created, or Terry Hayes, our new connecting services manager, established a new air station to track ridership to the event. This allows staff to be able to gauge anticipated attendance levels in advance and be able to coordinate with the bus to make sure we had enough shuttle capacity available. We learned a few things. This was a business case as first last mile, because once you get off station, it's not walkable to the museum. It's 7.7 miles away. It's about 20 minutes to get there. So having a shuttle bus was critical to get people back and forth to the destination. So having enough seats for each passenger was important. But as we know, Gold Runner passengers book last minute. So Chad sent me an email, 10 p.m. Friday night. You have 173 passengers. Piece of cake. We have 2 buses. We have enough seats for everyone. Day of event, things turn differently. Moving on to the next slide. Actually, you can't see, but Chad did an amazing job of tracking ridership to the Merced station on Saturdays for the past 3 months. As you can see, having special train services to Merced did have a significant impact. We had 423 passengers to the station. So that's why we created the air station to be able to track how many people book to the event and not just to the Merced station. So this is the impact on creating special train services, on what we can do with the little amount of funding that we have available and working with partners to create events like this. This is event promotion usage. You can see the number of people that booked using the code to get here and where they started out from, and the tickets sold by train number. So we'll definitely use this data going forward to see what cities get more riders from and what trains are the busiest, so we can make sure we have enough shuttle capacity for each of those. So in total, we had 199 tickets sold, but apparently the next morning we had 270 people show up out of nowhere. So this is where the transit partner came in handy, because we brought in a 3rd shuttle bus to be able to get people to the destination and back home every 15 minutes on the return. So this was through a manual head count, through all the connecting trains that arrived into Merced. So overall, great experience. Everyone was happy to go there. We had about over or close to half of the passengers were kids from 0 to 10 years old, which is pretty cool to see. A lot of conversations that some of the kids have never been on the train, where I thought we were going to have a lot of train and aviation fans on there, but it was a lot of families creating memories. So it was a pretty awesome experience. This is just some quick videos I'm going to play simultaneously to give you some raw footage of what happened the day of.
This is an absolute great idea to partner with Amtrak to visit the Castle Air Force Base for Open Cockpit Day.
So that was one of our future senior ambassadors there. They oversee a podcast. So not only did we get people to ride the service, but they think about the service more often and continue to look for our next special train services. So authority staff will continue to build upon best practices and deepen our current relationships, but also explore new partnerships along all the corridors. With the return of the 7th round trip, we established a partnership with California Railroad Museum. So we're looking to work with them to get people to go to some of their by signature events. Also with the city of Lodi, there's a WOW museum there. So we have a lot of great stuff coming up around special train services on top of Allensworth and Castle Air Museum.
Very good. My question would be, so the train to to Merced, was it multiple stops? I mean, could you get off at different times of the day to go to the museum, or was it started in the morning and in the afternoon?
No, the event was from 9 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. It was an express service, so there's no other stops, but just from Merced to the destination and they're back. The sole purpose of the shuttle was to get people to the destination. So people that lived in Merced were able to book a ticket and then still attend the event.
Very good. I'll do it next year.
Yep.
I missed it this year.
Next event's Memorial Weekend. Yep.
Okay,
So
for that same one.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, we can promote it through our veteran services too. So I know we did it last time. So we only had 17 got on at Hanford, but we can increase that. That'd be great.
Looking forward to
Any
it.
comments from the board members? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Vice Chair Hume and I sit on the Delta Protection Commission, which was the agency that helped establish the National Heritage Area for the Delta. There is all kinds of different adventures and experiences within the Delta. And Mayor Fugazi, even though they're not officially in the NHA, which will change, just saying, but there's all kinds of different partnerships. So I'm interested in helping promote that. The busing, the extra busing, how is that paid for? Is that through us or how does that work?
That takes some negotiation skills from all parties. You have one of the best negotiators on your team between Carmen and I and myself. For Allensworth is in-kind service with the bus. It is paid in, but we only get charged like the minimal base cost, and it's the drivers and the bus for the entire day. So it makes life easier for us.
I love this. I think it was so neat to see all the different people that are coming and exploring. And, you hear about how people are really looking for experiences. That's the big thing. And sometimes this is the first time people are getting on a train, which is part of that experience. So I think that's really cool. I would love for you to reach out to me so that I can connect you with folks within the 5 Delta counties to figure out other ways that we can partner with you.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Very good. Any other questions from board members or comments? Seeing that we have any online comments?
We received a written comment from Strong Towns Merced that we'll include in the minutes.
Okay, how about the audience? Everybody good? Okay, we'll go now to board member comments. Anybody have comments today? No, everybody wants to go to lunch? Right. Okay, we'll move on now. Interim Executive Director's Report.
We do have a slide for you if you wanted to still present your Gold Runner.
You want me to talk through this? So this is a Gold Runner event that anybody that wasn't there. It was a great event. Like I said, 38 elected officials. That's pretty good because every one of them wanted to talk. So it's kind of important to have that. And I think we had tremendous support. And I want to, thank the team for all they did to make this happen. This is a big deal. Just to get the attention and rebrand it and shine new light on it is a big deal. It seems like everybody's talking about it this week. And so we keep the momentum going and get the on-time service going, get the tracks, hopefully Santa Fe gets the tracks all done so we can meet our on-time performance. So thank you. I thank everybody involved. And I do appreciate my team allowing me to be the one to be the spokesperson. So thank you again. Appreciate it. Okay. David, it's all yours.
Well, first, thank you so much for being at the event and for leading us. Like in your remarks, it was a really great event. I do have one just super short item. Like as we continue to grow as an agency and take over things directly, like you heard today in terms of food and beverage, Marcus is going to introduce you to our newest team member.
I'm back again.
You again?
Get to close out the show. But really, as you kind of alluded to all throughout some of the presentations today, passenger experience is really top of mind in everything that we're doing. And whether it's the, new equipment or the legacy fleet or even our throughway buses, we're thinking about what that passenger experience is, not only just food and beverage, but thinking about different opportunities like business class service, things like that. So really excited to introduce you to Marissa Cabusas. She is joining us as our onboard experience manager. She started on Monday. So trust me, she's got a lot to take in, but I think that, with her background in hospitality, she's going to really be able to help us introduce new amenities and just refine some of the experiences that our passengers have. Welcome.
Welcome. I like Bloody Marys and breakfast burritos from my on-time experience, and looking forward to having a good time on the train. We might be a little toxic when we get done, but we have a good time at the beginning of it. Hi, David.
That concludes my report.
Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, this meeting will be adjourned, and I don't have a next date. Oh, January 23rd, 2026, 10 a.m. And it will be where? Stockton.
Happy Thanksgiving, all.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.